Isaac AM, 4th semester, Information Science and Engineering Department, GMIT. My course coordinator is Mrs. Asha K, Assistant Professor, Department of Information Science and Engineering, GMIT. So today I am here to take the presentation in microcontroller. So from the chapter ARM Embedded System Hardware, I choose some of the topics to explain you peoples. The first one is ARM bus technology. So get into this. In contrast, embedded devices uses an on-chip bus that is internal to the chip and that allows different peripheral devices to be interconnected with an ARM core. There are two different classes of devices attached to the bus. Let me see that. The ARM processor core is the bus master. Bus master, a logical device capable of initiating a data transfer with another device across the same bus. The next one is peripheral tends to be a bus slave. Bus slave, a logical device capable only of responding to a transfer request from a bus master device. A bus has two architecture levels. The first is a physical level that covers the electrical characteristics and bus width. Bus width may be 16 bits, 32 bits or maybe 64 bits. The second level deals with protocol, the logical rules that governs the communication between the processor and the peripheral. Here AMBA bus protocol. The AMBA stands for the Advanced Controller Bus Architecture. It was introduced in 1996 and has been widely adopted as the on-chip bus architecture used for ARM processors. The first AMBA bus introduced were the ARM system bus, that is ASB, and ARM peripheral bus, high performance bus. Then using AMBA, peripheral designers can reuse the same design on multiple projects. Okay, let me discuss about AHB. Okay, here AHB provides higher data throughout than ASB because it is based on a centralized multiplexed bus scheme rather than the ASB bidirectional bus design. This change allows the AHB bus to run at higher clock speeds and to be the first ARM bus to support widths of 64 and 128 bits. ARM has introduced two variations on the AHB bus, that is multi-layer AHB and AHB Lite. In contrast to the original AHB, which allows a single bus master to be active on the bus at any time, the multi-layer AHB bus allows multiple activity bus master. Next comes is memory. Memory is necessary. An embedded system has to have same form of memory to store and execute code. You have to consider price, performance and power consumptions. Then the specific memory characteristics. There are three specific memory characteristics: hierarchy, width and type. These three specific memory characteristics are deeply discussed in next upcoming slides. That is carried out by my friend Sushmita GK. So over to you, Sushmita.
Myself Sushmita GK from 4th Sem ISC. The next topic is memory hierarchy. Cache memory is one of the fastest memory, is placed very close to the processor. Because of the reason it is fastest, the price of cache memory in terms of KB. It is used to speed up data transfer between processor and main memory. And it provides an overall increase in performance but with a loss of predictable execution time, which means that the execution time of the cache memory cannot be predicted. Next to cache memory, we can see the primary memory, or we can say it as main memory. The size of the main memory is around 256 KB to 256 MB. Next is secondary memory. The secondary memory is largest and slowest form of memory, and also it is the cheapest memory, and it may vary from 600 MB to 60 GB. For example, hard disk drives and CD-ROM drives. Here, graph is plotted with performance versus memory size. Cache is one of the smallest memory, but performance of cache memory is comparatively high. Second is main memory. Size of the main memory is comparatively bigger, but performance and cost is less than that of the cache memory. Next comes to secondary memory, in which it is largest one, but performance and cost of the memory is comparatively small and size of that memory is bigger. Width. The memory width is the number of bits the memory returns on each access. The memory width has a direct effect on the overall performance and cost ratio. Means processor will try to access the data from the memory. So in case of this processor, in one single access, the processor can get the data from this particular memory and it can process the data and it can send back to the memory. Fetching instructions from memory. Consider here processor is 32-bit wide. Let us say that memory is 8-bit. So processor has to wait for 4 cycles in order to gather a data of 32-bit. Suppose memory is the 16-bit, when processor has to wait for 2 cycles. Suppose memory is 32-bit, it has to wait for 1 cycle, which means that this memory is comparatively faster with respect to the processor. If processor is 16-bit wide, the memory is 8-bit, so it has to wait for 2 cycles. Suppose memory is 16-bit, the processor has to wait for 1 cycle. Then memory is 32-bit, processor has to wait for 1 cycle. Memory types. DRAM means Dynamic Random Access Memory. It is most commonly used RAM for devices. It has the lowest cost per megabyte compared with other types of RAM. Lowest cost means this is one of the cheapest. Dynamic. It needs to have its storage cells refreshed and given a new electronic charge every few milliseconds. So you need to set up a DRAM controller before using the memory. That means it is temporary storage memory. If we want the data that is stored in DRAM to be permanent, we need to set up a DRAM controller which will be giving a refreshing or electronic charges at every pulse so that the data is RAM. Next is SRAM, means Static Random Access Memory. It is faster than more traditional DRAM. The access time for SRAM is considerably shorter than the equivalent DRAM because SRAM does not require a pause between data access. But cost of SRAM is high. This is comparatively better than DRAM. It does not require any controller in order to make the data stored in SRAM to be permanent. Next, SDRAM. Synchronous Dynamic Random Access Memory. It is one of many subcategories of DRAM, a part of DRAM itself. This is faster compared to DRAM. This synchronizes itself with the processor bus because it is clocked. Internally, the data is fetched from memory cells, pipelined, and finally brought out on the bus in a bus. Memory type.
Myself Kirti from 4SEM ISC. The next topic is peripherals. The connection between input and output will be done by peripherals. Embedded systems that interact with the outside world need some form of peripheral device. A peripheral device performs input and output functions for the chip by connecting to other devices or sensors that are off chip. Each peripheral device usually performs a single function. Peripherals range from a simple serial communication device to a more complex 802.11 wireless device. All ARM peripherals are memory mapped, that is, the programming interface is a set of memory address register. Specialized peripherals called as controllers that implement higher levels of functionality within an embedded system. Two important types of controllers are memory controller and interrupt controller. In interrupt controller, there are two types, normal interrupt controller and vector interrupt controller. In vector interrupt controller, it has priority and simple memory controller. It connects different types of memory to the processor bus. Different types of memory to store different data. On power up, a memory controller is configured in hardware to allow certain memory device to be active. These memory devices allow the initialization code to be executed, which means as soon as we turn on the laptop, memory controller will make sure that the data from this part of the permanent memory will go to the processor, and the processor will process the data and make our system ready to process. Some memory devices must be set up by software. For example, when using DRAM, you first have to set up by the memory timings and refresh rate before it can be accessed. Interrupt controller. When a peripheral or device requires attention, it raises an interrupt to the processor. During the non-execution of a computer program, at that time, if any input comes or error occurs, at that time execution stops and the interrupts need to be serviced. Interrupt controller controls which service to be done. There are two types of interrupt controller available for the ARM processor. They are standard interrupt controller and vector interrupt controller. In standard interrupt controller, it sends an interrupt signal to the processor, can be programmed to ignore or mask an individual set of devices. Its interrupt handler determines which device requires service. In vector interrupt controller, it associates a priority and a handler address to each interrupt. Depending on its type, vector interrupt controller will either call the standard interrupt exception handler or cause code to jump to the handler for the device directly. Controller is more powerful than the standard interrupt controller. Thank you.
Thank you all.